Tom's Toons here. Behind me is a 2012 Aqua Patio. This is a big old boat. It's 25 foot long, 8.5 foot wide. We're doing more and more of these, and I think we're going to continue to see this. If you've got a boat that's in this similar vintage, 2012, we've done all the way up to 2016 or 17, but it's got carpet. It's got the layout you want. You'll see this kind of cool layout. It's got nice seats. The vinyl's in great shape. It's been taken care of, but the carpet is just gross. No way around it. It's wet, it's dirty, it's breaking down, all those things. It needs vinyl. That's what we're doing on this boat. We're just gonna give it new vinyl, and we'll show you we're gonna play with the bar. Yes, this boat has a bar in it, or a bar top counter. We're gonna mess with that to make it a little bit better for this customer. Let's hop in and walk through it. This carpet is even in pretty good shape. I mean, you can see it really doesn't have a lot of wear and tear, but you spill on it, you're gonna be scrubbing, you do all that stuff, it gets wet, you put the cover on, your seats get exposed to wet, you know, the mildew that can develop from a cover being on with wet carpet, just like cooks in here with humidity. It's bad news bears. Come on back, this is that bar. So the issue this customer's having with this bar is it's massive. I mean, there's a lot of space through here, but when you get a cooler and a tube, an inner tube for towing the kids, whatever, this becomes really tight. These seats back here to walk around, even when the bimini's in the up position, there's just not a lot of space. You know, we've got less than a foot between here. So what we're gonna try to do, we're gonna look at some aftermarket options to give them a nice long table, probably come out to here, about this wide, so we can slide these bar stool seats forward, get them into position, and give a better flow around and better flow through here. It's a cool boat. It's got two back doors. We've got a little countertop, sort of bar top in the back here. The fuel tank is in the transom, so that space isn't taken up. We can actually put all sorts of stuff back here instead of having to put a fuel tank in. We're gonna get tearing this down. It's gonna be a pretty big project, but we're up for it, and it's gonna make this boat look brand new. It's getting teak, tan teak vinyl flooring. It's gonna look really sharp. Let's get to work. Check this out. Probably the award for the coolest built-in speaker on a boat. That's a first. What we have is a railing bolt that's through the deck. I can feel the bolt on this side. If you look underneath here, you'll see the bolt here. But on the top side, there's no bolt. There's no bolt head. What we have is actually a carriage bolt system that slides through this railing and goes down through. So there's an invisible bolt. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a piece of tape and I'm gonna mark where this goes through my railing, so that when I take this apart, on some of these bolts are fixed and sometimes they can move. And if you're not careful, they'll move on you. And then when you go back to reassembling your boat, because in this case, we're gonna reuse these railings, it's just getting a new floor, I need to be able to locate where this bolt was going through the deck and the deck trim to line everything up. So if you look, we've put painter's tape where each of these bolts is running through. It'll make it easier to line back up and get everything back exactly where it was. To show you what this looks like from underneath, this is that bolt that can slide. So it's a T-bolt or a carriage bolt. It's in a track here, and that can move. So when I get to putting this boat back together, I need to line this back up with this tape. Then I can drop it back through the hole that's already in the deck trim. That'll go through the deck as well. So this boat is a 2012 Aqua Patio. We see this a lot on around the same vintage, 2000 to 2012 or even newer. On Aqua Patios, we see it sometimes on Sweetwater. So keep your eye open. If you don't see a bolt going through the railing like this, tape them off. That way when you put it back together, everything's gonna slide right back in where it used to be. I am underneath this boat right now. And this is honestly probably one of the biggest, cleanest, look at this, perfectly clean carpet consoles I've worked on. So what I gotta do, I need to cut all the zip ties, free up all my wires. I think it's what overwhelms a lot of people, but typically it's just power supplies coming in, going out to accessories, All I'm gonna do is label these plugs. On one side, I'll put an A, and the other side, I'll put an A. That might be a B plug, that's a C, D, and so on. When it comes to the motor rigging, there's a lot less to deal with. So that's my key switch right there. I'll unplug the key switch, and we'll unplug from the harness so I can pull the key switch out and get that detached from the rest of the harness here. And then I need to free up so I can pull those shift throttle cables to pull the control box out, unhook those. Got to just free everything from the console to this bundle of wire and mechanicals that go through the floor. And then I'm free and I can actually start pulling things apart off the top of the boat. But I am enjoying how clean and spider-free this boat is. Real nice. There's the example. We've got A, B, C, and so on. Another pointer is if you've got a fuse block, like you can see back there, pay attention. You might not have to unplug everything, all these wires. Some of these connections are going to run from a fuse block like that, or a breaker block, if you want to call it that, to other accessories under the dash. So trace those things first before you start unhooking them. You might be able to leave them hooked up, and you might end up having to unhook less than you think. There's a good chance that you're going to be here with your project. And in this case, I'm here by myself, and I need to get hardware off to get that console out of there. Yeah, I'm gonna clamp some vice grips on that nut. It's gonna get stopped by this cross member to hold it in place. I'm gonna go on top, I'm gonna pull that bolt out, and I'm gonna move it to that hardware and get that loosened, and we got some more back here. So yeah, there's a good chance you're gonna have to do that. That's just a quick little tip I run into from time to time myself. We got to find ways to get it done, and this is the best way to do it. Also, look how many cross members are on this boat. This is a really beefy boat, 16-inch centers. That's a lot of hardware we're going to run into this one. We've got the boat mostly back together, and that leaves me at this point where I got to do something different with this bar. This thing is huge. I mean, it really takes up a ton of space, and one of the big kickers, negatives about it, is on this side, there's nowhere for my feet to go underneath, so they can't go under a table like a normal bar top. So that's why those seats had to be so far back, and they pinch off a ton of space. Plus, this just takes up room, and they just don't use it like you would if you were sitting around the bar and that was the focus of your boat. I know there's folks at home who are gonna say, oh my gosh, what a shame. I'd kill to have that on my boat, and I'd use the heck out of it. And you can't find these things aftermarket. Hopefully that'll work for somebody, because hopefully I'll be able to sell this cheap locally, just get rid of it. But I'm gonna use this top here, and this is my big challenge, is I gotta find a way to fasten some legs to this, because it's got a little flimsiness to it. I'm gonna have to reinforce it and put some legs down in order to make it work on this boat to act as a bar top, but in a much slimmer profile. So that's what I'm working on right now. I've got it pretty much disassembled. Now the fun part, I gotta figure out a way to make this look real nice and be real solid for the long haul. We got this boat all put back together with the new flooring, but first, you're probably wondering, what's Tom wearing? Yeah, that's a no cavitation zone hat right there. Limited quantity of these. They're on our website at www.tomstoons.com. I'll put a link right here for it, up here somewhere. Hats, come get them. Let's take a look at what we did on this boat. We got all of our furniture put back in, and our seamstress made seat covers, custom snap-on seat covers for this boat that's going to help protect the seats, keep them in nice shape. And it's a huge benefit. You don't need the full mooring cover, because the vinyl flooring is going to last way longer than carpet. It doesn't get wet and soggy and moldy like carpet. Everything's just going to run right off of it and dry. Take a peek. That's the teak pattern woven vinyl floor in tan from pontoonstuff.com. Goes really well with these seats. Come on in, let's show you what else we did to customize this boat. We'll get to the bar in a second, but first, This is something you can do on your boat at home. This had a really big Fusion. It had a Bluetooth module or adapter to it, but it was a really big Garmin Fusion head unit that took up this whole space. Well, we went to a modern, brand new Fusion. They really like that look, that style. And we were able to power it on a switch so that we can get power when we flip our switch on to hook up to Bluetooth. It's probably gonna sync to my phone. We gotta stop that from happening. We can cover that. We're not using it, out of the way, but we just use a high density polyethylene. You can get this stuff on Amazon. It's just a marine grade plastic. It's not gonna fade. And we cut out our space for our head unit, and then we can screw it into the existing dash to cover up the old hole, which was much bigger than what this unit would have taken. Just something to think about in the future when you're working on your boat. Maybe you're getting rid of one of those old, this one had about the same profile as those old CD player type stereo head units. This is something you can do to modernize your boat without having to totally redo your dash or have big holes in it. But this is a really cool part. This customer loves the bar. And this is like one of those huge selling points. If you're looking at the boat show, you want the boat with the bar, you want to hang out with your friends, kick back, relax. This was huge, but it was enormous. It took up a ton of space. So what we did is we welded them up a new base. We got rid of the big base, that old one, welded up a new one, and ran the wires up through one of the legs. That way we can still have our LEDs in the cup holders. They like to store coolers and tubes and stuff around, and it was really restricting on the flow. Well, now I can walk right through the back here. Nothing's in my way. This seat was about 6 inches farther back and made this really tight. But we fixed that for them. When you start over, you take everything off, you get the chance to make it work better for you on your pontoon boat. Even when we're reusing the furniture like this boat, still make some customizations. It's part of the fun. Go order your hat online. Check out our other apparel on there, and we'll see you on the next boat that we restore. We're busy this time of the year. We're just gonna keep going right into the snowy season.